All right, so I think it's time for me to make another batch of bolognese. And I do large batches, and I can use them then for all kinds of dishes. So all kinds of pasta dishes, or like making lasagnas and things like that as well. But bolognese. I think people they hear the word and they think, oh, it sounds good. It's not complicated. It's just a slow cooked meat sauce. That's it. Um, and I'll show you here what ingredients we're going to be using today.
All right, so we have here the basic ingredients that I'm using for bolognese, and you can switch some of these things around. But you'll notice I have three different kinds of meat. I found veal, which is not common to find, but I used it instead of pork. And then I have ground beef, and then I have some sweet Italian sausage. Then I have just your basic aromatic vegetables, so the mirepoix, right? Which is onions, carrots, and celery. We're going to dice those up fairly fine. I've got some garlic. I have some pancetta, which is an uncured, somewhat similar to bacon. Then I've got some tomato paste, I've got some chicken stock, and then I have a big old can of whole plum tomatoes. So let's start by dicing up our onions. I'm going to do about 1.5 of these medium-sized onions. Then we're going to do, I have 4 cloves of garlic here. Again, I'm dicing these kind of fine, which isn't 100% necessary because I'm actually going to throw all of this into the food processor to get it nice and small and homogeneous. I don't want big chunks of any veg in my bolognese sauce personally. That's just a personal thing. And there we go with the celery, and here come the carrots. We'll get those diced down nice and fine. And into the food processor we go. We're not going to make this into a puree. We just want to make this into fairly uniform small bits. And now we're going to take those plum tomatoes and throw them into the blender. Oops, got some on the counter. Not to worry, my counters are clean, so I will pick that back up here and just toss it back in. We're going to go ahead and pulse those until everything's a nice puree. Alright, so now let's dice up our pancetta into small cubes. We're going to take this pancetta, it gives a great flavor to the sauce. We're going to get this sauteed in a small pan here in a minute with a little bit of olive oil. For some reason, some of the video ended up having corrupted files, so I'll show you what I've got. But we've got these little cubes of the pancetta, and they're going to go into the frying pan. Now, we're also going to add to this, once we get a little bit of crisp on this pancetta, we're actually going to go ahead and throw that vegetable mix into this pan as well. And we're going to let that cook down for a little while. Alright, so let's go ahead and add our meats into the large pot. Again, I've got a pound of ground beef, a pound of ground veal, and a pound of Italian sweet sausage. So we got to break up this meat. If you've never tried it, I highly recommend using just a potato masher in addition to your wood spoon, and that's going to help greatly with breaking down your meat to get it into those nice small pieces. Now we're adding a little bit of tomato paste to our vegetable mix and pancetta. We want to get a little caramelization of the tomato paste onto the bottom of the pan. And once we have done that, we're going to add a little bit of red wine also to deglaze the pan. Deglazing meaning just to get up the bits, the little brown bits off the bottom of the pan. Now we're going to add all of that into our meat mixture. We'll give it a stir. And then once that's somewhat combined, we're going to go ahead and add in all of our pureed tomatoes. Added into the meat mixture, you may notice that I have not yet added any salt or pepper, and there's a reason for that. Is I want to wait to the end or close to the end to season it. As if you add the salt now, as the liquid evaporates out, because we're going to let this simmer for a couple 3 hours probably. If you put the salt in too soon and then everything else reduces, well, the salt doesn't reduce; it just makes everything else is going to taste more salty. So that's why I wait until I'm pretty close to being done before I do add salt. Now I'm also going to add some chicken stock at this stage because that also is going to be a great part of the flavor. And again, we want this a little bit on the looser side right now because we want it to take a few hours to reduce as the liquids reduce and evaporate out of the pot. All of those flavors will intensify down into our end product. So at this stage, what I'm looking for is just a very slow simmer. So a few bubbles here and there. But I don't want it to be real vigorous. I don't want this to burn on the bottom of the pot. Again, if it burns, then you're going to have that burnt flavor all through your sauce, and that's not good. So keep it on low. If you have to move it to a smaller burner or something like that, do that as well. And then make sure to stir it, every once in a while, just to make sure that nothing's sticking to the bottom. So it's been about 3 hours, and it's reduced down. You can see it's reduced down about 1.5 inches or so. So I gave it a little taste test to see what we're looking like for salt and pepper. And I'm going to go ahead and add some salt and pepper in here now. Like I said, we wanted to wait for this because we don't want to do this at the beginning, otherwise the levels just aren't going to be right. I'll also mention at this stage, some people will add sugar to their bolognese. I don't. Some people will add milk to the bolognese. That's fairly traditional. It's not something I generally do. But as far as the sugar in particular, well, that's what the carrots are for. The carrots are what are going to give you that sweetness to kind of counterbalance the acids that you have from all those tomatoes. So everything is done, so we're going to go ahead and ladle this into some deli containers. I'm going to end up with about 4 quarts of bolognese. After this cools off, I'll go ahead and put lids on them and then stick them in the freezer. And then I also have a little bit left over that we're going to make some dinner with right now. So you can stop here or you can watch me make spaghetti. Alright, so the real quick down and dirty. Once we've already got the bolognese made, making spaghetti is a piece of cake. So I'm going to throw some of my bolognese into the pan to low heat while I cook my noodles. I just made spaghetti. Go for about a minute less than what the package says on your spaghetti. Once that is done, we're going to take the pasta directly out of the pot after it's nice and soft, but not quite all the way there, and we're going to add that directly into our sauce. The reason you want to take it out before it's done is you want to finish cooking within the sauce, because then the noodles will actually absorb some of the flavor directly from the sauce, rather than it just being a naked plain pasta, you know, and then you put the sauce over the top. This way you can get the sauce really incorporated into the noodles themselves. So once we have the noodles in, we're just going to give this a good toss in the sauce. We're going to let this cook for another minute or so, because that's about what it needs to be, kind of perfectly al dente. Again, you don't want your pasta mush. At least I don't. I guess everybody has their personal preferences, but mush isn't fun as far. Alright, so now we're going to plate. You can just, you know, scoop this into your bowl or plate or whatever. You don't have to be pretentious and annoying like I am with the big tweezers and doing the spinny thing so that it looks fun on a plate or whatever. I don't even really need to do this for myself, but I do even when I'm not taking photographs of it, because that's just the weirdo that I am. So once we have that done, we're going to add some more sauce over the top here. And to finish things off, let's do a little bit of Parmesan Reggiano. And I have some basil here and that I'm growing in the kitchen right now, so we'll just take a few of the basil leaves and rip those up and just put them in over the top. And that's all that we'll need. I've got some garlic bread in the oven right now, actually, and so I'll have that along with my dinner too. There it is. No, garlic, but it's actually Texas toast. It's garlic Texas toast. It's delicious. It's delicious one way or the other. So let's give it a test. That's what I'm talking about. Delicious. Simple. So once you have the Bolognese made, you can see that you can have dinner on the table in 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It's actually quite simple. Thanks for watching, y'all.